It is day 86. Day 86. Man, this workout was good. I enjoyed it. I took somebody through it earlier today, and they felt it. They're like, "Oh my word!" And I think my wife might do it yet tonight. So that's pretty cool. So we're looking at the topic of habits, and we're looking at loving relationships. Loving relationships. You're like, man, you're in love again for the third day? Hey, it's kind of all over the Bible. So, hey, one of the things that I find really awkward, I don't know about you, but I think meeting people for the first time that you have no context on, strangers, can be awkward. It really can. And I try to make it as smooth as possible, but you know what? At times I don't think I'm very good at that. But trying to come across the right way so that you perceive the right way, and not some doofenshmirtz. Yes, I did make a Phineas and Ferb reference. So, but have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about how new relationships are started and why? So maybe you go to a new school, bam, new relationships. You start a new job, bam, new relationships. You move to a new neighborhood. Look, the neighbors are watching. And maybe some of them will come talk to you and introduce themselves. Or maybe your best friend gets married and his wife Faith becomes your new best friend. He's married to your best friend, so she becomes your best friend, and she becomes your wife's best friend. Why? Because that's how it works, So how do all of these new potential relationships develop? You hear that relationship barking in the background? Yeah, we got a puppy a couple months ago, and we've been dealing with the puppy world. That has caused all kinds of tension. That has caused all kinds of relationship struggles and issues. And it's also made some phenomenal relationship breakthroughs as well. And, so we have a relationship with a puppy that's growing up in our home. I mean, that's pretty cool. Someone must have made an intentional choice to engage in a conversation. So how do all of these new potential relationships develop? Somebody made a choice. I made a choice to bring home a puppy. And you can hear him barking in the background. Perhaps you have a new relationship with somebody. You made a choice to go talk to them, or they made the choice to come talk to you, or maybe you went to a church for the first time at a different location, and you walk through the door not knowing anybody, and you have the choice to engage people or wait for them to engage you, and hopefully they'll engage you before you engage them and are welcomed into that church. I mean, I have visited churches in the past where I went in, didn't know anybody, and nobody talked to me. I don't know if you've experienced that before. But then I've gone to other churches, and before I got in the door, I was met in the parking lot. People started talking to me, and they talked to me all the way inside. People invited me to sit with them. So when I was a truck driver over the road, I had opportunity to visit lots of churches, and I experienced all kinds of welcomings or not throughout that experience and that time. But why do you start, or why don't you start new relationships? Maybe you start because you're curious about the new neighbor. Maybe you start it because you're curious about the new coworker. Maybe you start it because you're curious about the new kid in your class. Or maybe you don't start those relationships because you don't want to make yourself vulnerable. You have enough friends, or you just don't feel like you don't need people. I mean, it can be any number of things. But I want to look at somebody in specific, and I want us to take a look at what he did. He was very intentional about how he lovingly engaged somebody, where he sought to have a relationship with this person. And this person is Jesus, and he was reaching out to Zacchaeus. And maybe you remember singing, Zacchaeus was a wee little man, in Sunday school. But here we go. Luke chapter 19, verses 1 through 10. Jesus entered Jericho and made his way through the town. There was a man there named Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector in the region, and he had become very rich. How did he become rich? Maybe he was a cheat. Maybe he was stealing from people and overtaxing them. Maybe that was what was going on. Because one thing I know, tax collectors were not popular back then, just like today. So he had become very rich. He tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass that way. So one thing that I learned about Zacchaeus just by reading this is, he grew his wealth. We're not sure if he did it in a legit way or not. Most likely it was not legit. But we also see that he's a problem solver. He wanted to see Jesus, and he figured out how he could do it. Verse 5, when Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said, come down, quickly come down. I must be a guest in your house, in your home today. Wow, I mean, that's an intentional statement. Zacchaeus, I'm sure, was shocked that Jesus took the time to intentionally call out to him. He knew my name. I don't know him. I know who he is. I don't know him, and I don't know how he knows me, but he called me by name. Okay, I'm stunned. And then he says, come out of the tree because I'm going to come to your house today. So he is now inviting himself to my house. And so Zacchaeus is super excited about what is happening here because Jesus is going to be coming to his house, to his home that day. Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and took Jesus to his house in great excitement and joy. He didn't feel burdened. He didn't feel like this is a major groaner for him. He was excited. He was in joy. But the people were displeased. Oh, the judges. He has gone to be with the guest of a notorious sinner. So Zacchaeus has a bad reputation. They grumbled. Meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, I will give half my wealth to the poor, Lord, and if I have cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much. Jesus responded, salvation has come to this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save those who are lost. Zacchaeus was lost. And then he was found by Jesus. And because of that time that he spends with Jesus, he clearly has a changed life. And we see this because he admits to his theft, his cheating, and his wrong. And so he's going to go ahead. And this is his own volition. Nobody told him to do this. He is doing it, where he's going to pay back those people that he cheated 4 times as much. Wow. See, Jesus did everything, does everything for a reason and a purpose. Jesus must have been on his way to see Zacchaeus. He was intentional about finding and spending time with Zacchaeus, and I'm sure it was because of his time with Jesus that leads Zacchaeus to do what he did in getting riches, getting right with those he stole from. This is a definite change of life and evidence of Zacchaeus coming to faith in Christ. All because of the intentional relationship Jesus began with Zacchaeus. You know, if we look at John chapter 4, Jesus intentionally began a conversation with a Samaritan woman at the well. This was not culturally accepted practice at the time. In John chapter 3:16, we see that God did not just tell us he loved us, but he intentionally sent his son so that we could experience his love. In John chapters 2, 3, and 4, we see Jesus intentionally spending time with people to develop relationships with them. Yet in everything, we see the love for others is at the core of who he is. In John 13:34-35, he says this, "So now I am giving you a new commandment. Love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples." And so we see him. He wants us to invest in each other. He wants us to love each other in the body of Christ. And he wants us to love those outside. He wants us to reach out to the lost. Just as he did. He went and he sought out Zacchaeus. He went and sought out the disciples and brought them to himself so that they could receive him and follow him. We see in 1 Peter chapter 4, 8-9, we see Peter obeying this command and later challenge believers to do the same. In 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 8-9, "Most importantly, all of you continue to show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins. Cheerfully share your home with those who need a meal or a place to stay." And I love this quote. To Jesus, loving, caring relationships were not a strategy. They were a way of life. Man. How Christians love each other says more to non-Christians than anything else they may say about Jesus. That's something to think about. How Christians love each other says more to non-Christians than anything else we may say about Jesus. And I love this quote. The young church in Acts experienced the power of loving, caring relationships and made them a priority. And Acts 2:4 tells us that they devoted themselves to fellowship with one another. Jesus was in the habit of developing loving relationships with others for their benefit, not his. What hinders you from developing those kinds of relationships? How can you better develop loving relationships with Christians and non-Christians? Something to think about, something to consider. For further study, I'd encourage you to read through John chapter 2, 3, and 4 and see how Jesus developed those loving relationships. Well, that's it for our devotional. Let's close with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, I praise you and thank you for your grace, your mercy, your love. I know, Father, Lord, I fail so often in loving others the way that you would have me to, Father, Lord. I'd ask your forgiveness in that. Father, Lord, help me to love those within the family of God and those outside the family of God for your honor and glory, Father, in a way which will be honoring and pleasing to you, Father. Oh, Father, Lord, help me to develop loving relationships with others, not for my benefit, but for theirs, because of who you are. I pray and ask in the name of Son Jesus Christ, by your Spirit. Amen. All right, let's head on over to the workout board. All right, hey, we're at the workout board. It's day 86. So if you could hit your daily process, 25 minutes prayer, 25 minutes of Bible reading, 8 hours rest, at those hydration goals. Half your body weight in ounces of water plus 10 to 20%. Hit your calorie goals, whatever those are for you and whatever you're trying to do. And at least one 30-minute workout. And hey, an accountability partner or somebody to train with is vital. All right, so here we go. Loving relationships was our theme. And 5 to 10 minute warm up and cool down. And then we have seated row, 16 reps. And I want us to take a 1 to 2 minute rest between sets. Don't go on to the next exercise until you've completed all 4 sets. And then we're doing dumbbell DB single arm row, 16 reps. Again, 1 to 2 minute rest between sets. And I want us to do a drop set on this exercise. And what that means is I want you to pick a weight that right when you get to 14 or 16 reps, your body begins to fail where you can't quite finish the reps. And so what you do then is your next set, you're going to drop the weight 5 pounds. So the same thing happens. So right when you hit 14, 15, 16, your body starts to fail. And I want us to drop the reps, drop the weight, break down 5 pounds, you can do the same on the reps, okay? That's a drop set. And then dumbbell seesaw row, 16 reps. And again, a 1 to 2 minute break between sets. Do all 4 sets before going on. And then we have plate to bent over row or plate rows. And I'll be showing you 2 different ways of doing that. 16 reps, 1 to 2 minutes, rest between sets, and doing a total of 4 sets. And when you're all done, don't forget to do that cool down, stretch out if you need to, or do a cardio. Hey, that's it. Let's head on over to the exercises. Okay, I don't have a cable machine where I can do seated rows, but I do have a band. You can do band seated rows in a door frame. You can do a standing row in a door frame as well. Again, using the hack I showed a few weeks ago, where you take a ratchet strap, make a loop, and a knot, and send the loop through the door, the knot on the underside of the door, pull, and then the knot pulls against the door frame. So let's go ahead and hook this up, and we'll do our rows. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to pull the bar to my sternum, right there, and then back and forth. Again, I can do this on the floor, I can do this standing, I'm doing it seated on this bench, okay? You want to take your time, back and forth. When I get to the sternum, I hold it, and then I let it go back out nice and slow. 16 reps. Again, 1 to 2 minute break between reps. All right, let's head over to single arm dumbbell row. All right, so first off, I grab a heavy dumbbell and get in position here. I want my foot back, leg back, this knee forward on the bench, reach down, grab the dumbbell, and I'm gonna pull the dumbbell, elbow goes back towards the hip, right there. Nice and slow, nice and steady pace. Don't be dropping it. 16 reps, and I toss it to the other side, and then I repeat over there. Again, drawing the elbow back to the hip, right there, elbow to the hip. And when I get that elbow up there, hold it, and then back down. Hold it, then back down. So I'm doing 4 sets, and then on the each set, I would drop it. So that's 35 pounds. The next set, I go to 30 pounds, then 25 pounds, and my final set is with a 20 pound. Hey, all right, what's next? Seesaw. Seesaw is next. With the seesaw, my first set, I'm going to have my legs staggered, it's bent, and I'm right here. My second set, I'll switch it up right there, and then my third set, go back. And again, you just switch your feet each time. And so we're doing 16 reps right here. So bring this one up, and it's a seesaw action right here. So as one comes up, one goes down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And when you do this, you're going to feel it in your quad. So you're going to switch it up and really feel that work. Good workout. Enjoy it. Okay, next thing is plate row. Plate row. Now with this exercise, with the plate row, I'm going to squat down. Feet are just past shoulder width. Butt is dropped. Arms are straight right here. And the lower I drop my butt, the more out I go. So hot butt's higher. Arms are here. So 16 reps that way. If I drop my butt, then it's up here. We're engaging more stabilizers, and 16. So you can do 2 one way, 2 the other, up to you. I enjoy it. Don't forget to do your cool down. Stretch out what you need to stretch out. You got this.